Okay, we're looking at the 20 worst seasons in Premier League history, and I've got a list of obviously 20 names and numbers. There are some shocking seasons on here, and yeah, start shall we? Some teams appear more than once, some teams appear just once. Some of the teams that appear more than once, good God, they were shocking seasons. We know who the worst team in history is, don't we? Or will you be surprised? Right, the 20th worst team overall was last season's West Brom. And they had the grand total in the end of only 31 points. And to be fair, considering the bottom team, or the worst team overall, that's 20 points more. This is actually not that bad by West Brom, to be brutally honest. And that was last year, so 17-18. Now, you will notice there will be some adjustments and points deductions on this list as well. But it gets worse for some teams. West Brom, they're on this list again, I believe. I do believe, I could be wrong. They are on the list again. But that is not actually a bad total of points considering some of the point totals we will see in the next 10 to 15 minutes. The next worst team is good old Bolton Wanderers. And they do not appear on this list again. And they got a really depressing sum of 29 points. And that was back in 95-96. So 95, 96, I was at a primary school back. But it gets progressively worse after this. So that's not actually that bad a point total. Next on the list is Borough, Middlesbrough. And they're going to be on this list again. No, they're not. This is Middlesbrough's worst ever season. And they got 28 points. You're going to see a lot of 28 points. I'm going to warn you. They got 28 points a couple of years ago in the 16-17 season. Yeah, it's going to get really bad in a bit. Right, then we have one of my local teams in Reading. This was a shocking season by anyone's imagination. They did not deserve to stay up. I will be clear on that. And they got a paltry, again, 28 points. And that was in 2012-2013. So you think the Olympic legacy will have some rub-off? No, they were shocking and they deserve to get relegated. Now, next on the list is a team that will appear again. They're having a very good season in Watford. And to be fair, this is not their worst season by a long way. They have had worse, and that was again 28 points. What year was that? That was 2006, 2007. So this is the year they got to FA Cup semi-final. Look how they're doing now. Right, the next on the list is Leicester, and they will appear on this list a few times as well. How do I spell Leicester? Would help if I could spell. And this is Leicester are going to be appearing on this list more than once. I will warn Leicester fans of this. They appear on this list twice. And this is a season where they got 28 points. This followed, I think, the season before they had lost to Wycombe in the FA Cup quarter-final. And then within a season, they were relegated out of the Premier League, not for the first time. This is actually, I think, the second time they were relegated out of the Premier League. So they got 28 points. Now, next on the list is Swindon. Now, this is a points-adjusted total because when Swindon were founders of the Premier League, it had 22 teams in it. Now, Swindon, they did get 30 points this season, and it is adjusted. So I'm going to put a little asterisk there. They got 30. And in brackets, we're going to put, what did they get? 27. I'm going to put it at 27, even though it's rounded up to 27.14. But it is a pretty shoddy total. And that was in 93-94. The second season of the Premier League, and Swindon had by that point held a record for the worst ever top flight points total. It is adjusted. Next on the list, much like Leicester, had a good run in the FA Cup the year before. And that's Portsmouth. Oh yeah, Portsmouth. Look at them now. They are really in the crappers now. Now they got a points deduction, so they would have actually got more points. They should be lower down the list, but we're going to put them at 19, and the bracket. I think they would have got, what was it, 28 or 29? They would have got 28 points, and they had 9 deducted. So they lost 9 points there. Swindon's is rounded up. There is a reason why they're at 14, not 13. Don't ask me how. This survey that I actually found on 442 works it out. I do think Swindon Portsmouth should be the other way round, but we will live with that. And that was in 2009, 2010. So they win the FA Cup, and suddenly out of nowhere, 75 million quid and prize money has gone into Milan Mandarich's pocket and Harry Redknapp's dog's bank account. I am not holding the punches on that one. There is some dodginess going on at Pompey. Number 12, Leicester, for the second time, get on the list. And this is even worse than the previous season, even with the adjusted points total to make it look even worse than it actually is. They got 29 points this season, so in a bigger league, that is pretty shocking. And they were adjusted to 26. That is diabolical. That was in 94-95. This is when they were a yo-yo team. They got promoted straight back up, which is great through the playoffs. Of course, they've been relegated to 3 times from the Premier League, I think, or twice. I think they're the first team to win the Premier League that's been relegated from the Premier League twice. Have a think on that. No, they're the second team to do it. Blackburn did it before. But yeah, 2 shocking seasons. We do not see Leicester again. But we do see this team again, and that is West Brom. This is the second time West Brom are on the list, and I'm not holding any punches. This was a shocking season. They got 26 points. What year was this? This was 2000-2003. This is when they were a yo-yo team. Even worse than last year's points total. Absolutely diabolical by West Brom that year. They have been. This was at a period of time when they were the yo-yo team. They were going up and down for several seasons in a row. This season they had a really terrible season. A team that everyone is surprised was in the Premier League, much like Swindon, was Bradford City back in the day. So yeah, good old Bradford. Yeah, they made it into the Premier League once and were there for 2 years. I put the points deductions up. No, Leicester. Yeah, Leicester did have a points adjusted season there. What about that? Bradford were in the Premier League once. They got a paltry 26 points. And that was in 2000. That was in, oh God. We'll get rid of the points totals now because we know what, they got 26 points, and that was in 2000, 2001. They got 26 points that year, and they were shocking. The season before, they did survive under Paul Jewell on the last day of the season, and it all went a bit tits up from there. Right, next on the list, very wealthy team that keep breaking financial fair play, but can't get out the Championship, and that is QPR. They've been relegated from the Premier League, I think, more times than any other side that I can think of. And they've only got, this season, 25 points. And I will tell you now, the only reason why they're not higher on the list is because of goal difference. They were that bad that year. 12, 13. That's the season they got relegated. It was in the 2012-2013 season. That was an absolutely shocking season by QPR. Fully deserved to be relegated that year. Next on the list is Wolves. And I was surprised they were this, this high up, well, low down the list or high up the list, depending which way you look at it. They got a pathetic 25 points and I think a minus 40 odd goal difference. Hence why they're above QPR, because QPR season was just shoddy. And that was a couple of years before QPR. I think it was the season before QPR. So, yeah, there was a spell where teams were shocking. Yeah, shocking season. Fully deserved to be relegated. I have no sympathy. Next on the list is Ipswich. The first time they were in the Premier League. They were in the Premier League, I think the original founders of it as well. And I didn't check the pissing season they got relegated. I think it was 94-95. Yes, it was 94-95. So Ipswich got 27 points. And it's adjusted. So we'll put the brackets in. Another adjusted season there. And it was adjusted to 24.4. basically 24 points. And I forget the season this is in, but I'm assuming this is in 94, 95. And they were shocking this year. That's in 94, 95. Can't fit it in. Ipswich, fully deserved to be relegated. And unfortunately, if you're a Sunderland fan, you want to look away now because your team appears quite a few times. The Black Cat, Sunderland. Yeah, there's some really bad seasons by Sunderland coming up, and I'm not holding the punches. You appear 3 times in 6 seasons. Yeah, it's not looking good. And that was 24 points. And that was in, what year was that? 16, 17. Yeah. There are 2 worse seasons for Sunderland on this list. I'm not going to lie. It gets really bad. One of them was actually record-breaking for the Premier League at one point, and then they broke it again. Yeah, they've broken 2 Premier League worst season records. Yeah, that says something. Now, they broke this record that had lasted for 8 seasons, and that belonged to Watford under the late Graham Taylor. Now, that is the second time I think Watford get on the list. This was a record bad season, and that was also 24 points. And that was in 99-2000. So Graham Taylor, legend that he was, underrated manager, but my God, that was possibly the worst season I had ever seen up to that point in the Premier League. That was a record-breaking bad season that has been broken 5 more times, or 4 more times. 4 more times that record has been broken, and Sunderland have done it twice. Yeah, you couldn't make this stuff up. You really couldn't. So at 4, you've got Sunderland again. It's not fun being a Black Cat. I'm not going to lie. That's the second time they're on here, and this time we're now below 20 points. This is unbelievable. And this was in 02, 03. That was a bad season. And they were well behind everyone else. It wasn't even close. The fact Portsmouth had 90 points, that was points deducted. With their record, they would have been there. So this is really shocking stuff. But it gets even worse. There are teams that are worse than this. 3rd worst team overall. The good old Villa, and a team I can't stand. Aston Villa. And they walked away with 17 points. Historical club, badly run, 17 points. And that was a couple of years ago, actually. It was in the 15-16 season. That was a shocking season. And yeah, wasn't a record breaker. There were 2 worse seasons. So that was the 3rd worst season ever at that point. It was by Aston Villa. And that was a abysmal season. Fully deserved to get relegated. Sunderland appear yet again. This is really bad, and this I can't make this up. I mean, how Sunderland have got on this list 3 times in 6 seasons? Yeah, 3 times. Every time Sunderland got relegated from the Premier League, they do it proper. They really screw it up, and I feel so sorry for Sunderland fans. But Newcastle haven't made this list, I'm afraid. And that 15 points, and that was a record breaker that season, and that was in 05-06. Yeah, because Ipswich were the same season after Swindon, so they had a bad record there. But it gets worse. So Sunderland have got 1, 2, 3 times on this list it's just unbelievable. But the worst team ever, and to be fair, their fans were brilliant while this season was crashing and burning. They were wearing fancy dress, they were drunk half the time, probably on drugs. Derby County. Oh my God, how Derby County. Now, everyone remembers how many points they didn't get, and they only got 11 points, including 1 win against Newcastle, who were relegated the next year. You cannot get worse than that, and that was in 07-08. So, the worst seasons ever, and the worst team ever, Premier League history, was the 07-08 Derby County squad that had Robbie Savage in it. Yeah. Yes, there's some diabolical seasons on there. Now, the team that appears the most is Sunderland. Watford are on there twice. Leicester are on there twice. West Brom are on there twice. So yeah, there you go. If you're a West Brom, Leicester, or Sunderland fan, Please look away now. However, Leicester have won the Premier League. Portsmouth, they've got an FA Cup in there in recent memory. But the other teams on this list, good God, that is a shocking. I think Middlesbrough have got a League Cup in there as well. Bolton got League Cup final. Aston Villa have had an FA Cup final and got the worst FA Cup final result in history. So there you go. But there are some really, that's the 20 worst seasons in the English Premiership. There you go. Nothing will ever come close to Derby County's 11 points. I cannot see that happening, or can I? Because some teams are really struggling this season. Sunderland, I mean, anything in that range is pretty crap. Yeah, I think the top four are already better than Sunderland and Derby County were in an entire season, and we've only got to the end of September. So that just shows how bad some of these teams were. I mean, West Brom's 31 points last season is 20 points better than Derby County. So that is how bad. There's a 20-point gap between the 20th on the list and first overall. First overall to get 11 points and be that bad is absolutely shocking. But there we go. There's the 20 worst Premier League seasons ever. Thank you for watching for 15.5 minutes. I do apologise for the poor lighting and the chaos on the board. And of course, there are adjustments. So if there's anything with brackets, that's a points deduction or adjusted season because it was a 22-team league at the time and was adjusted downwards to 20 because the league changed size in 1996. Thank you very much for watching. If you have the top 20 best seasons in the Premier League ever, by all means, whack them on the board. Whack them in the comments section. I'll whack them on the board. I will look at the 20 best seasons ever for points totals. But thank you very much for watching. Place your comments below if you're a fan of any of these teams. How bad were those seasons? And any other teams in any of the leagues that have had some pretty shocking seasons, I can do many. We've done Brecon City a whole video on them. Dundee have got no points in the Scottish Premier League right now. Could they go a whole season without a win? And could they get on a top 10 list or top 20 list for shocking seasons? And there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your comments below and I'll have some more videos for you soon.